Nearly 1 in 4 adults under 45 have this right now without even knowing it, and it can sabotage your weight loss for 10 to 15 years before a standard blood test ever picks it up. This is called insulin resistance or hyperinsulinemia, and if you have tried everything to lose weight but nothing seems to work, there's a very good chance that this is why. Very quickly, I'm Kim. I'm a metabolic weight loss coach for women, and before we jump into the exact symptoms, let me quickly explain what is happening. So, insulin is your fat storage hormone. When your insulin stays high, your body is going to struggle to access that stored body fat for energy. So, you can eat less and you can exercise more, but you can still kind of feel like you're getting nowhere because the real problem isn't actually being addressed since it's hormonal. Now, I'm not a doctor and this is not medical advice, but I have seen these patterns in myself and in my own parents. When I encouraged my parents to get tested, we discovered that my dad had type 2 diabetes and my mum had prediabetes after years of chronically high insulin. But noticing these symptoms were key to really tell me that something was off so that they could speak with their GP. So, if several of these symptoms sound familiar, it is worth really speaking to your doctor and asking for something like a fasting insulin test. And a few of these signs will probably surprise you. Number 10 is one that I have never really seen talked about in these list type videos, even though both me and my mum had it. So, let's get into it. Symptom number one is going to be skin tags. These are those little soft flaps of skin. They're normally like on your neck, your armpits, maybe even your eyelids or underneath your bra line. Most people think that these are just a random skin thing, but they're strongly linked to high insulin. So the medical name is, and I'm going to absolutely butcher this, archocordons, and they show up because excess insulin tells skin cells to overgrow. Keep in mind that insulin is a growth based hormone. It is fantastic in the times of your life when you need to grow, such as in puberty or pregnancy, or when you're just in a muscle build. It will help you build more muscle quicker. But it can also make your skin grow in places that you don't really want it to. So if you've got a cluster of these skin tags, then it's worth just keeping an eye on that and maybe bringing it up to your doctor. So symptom number two is dark velvety skin. So this is darker, slightly velvety patches, usually on the back of the neck, the armpits, sometimes the groin, and the medical name is, I'm also going to butcher this one, acanthosis nigricans. People scrub at these thinking that it's just dirt, but it won't scrub off. It's not dirt. It's a metabolic signal, and the same cause is like driving the skin tags as well, which is the insulin is making the cells overgrow and darken. And fun fact, the American Diabetes Association formally recognized these patches as a marker of insulin resistance back in 2000. So it's not a new thing, but the good news is, and this is the theme for today, it fades as insulin comes down. Same with the skin tags, they will go away in time. I had a few of them and they've now kind of just dropped off. Symptom number three is that your waist is creeping up past half of your height. So it's a quick check that you can do right now. Your waist measurement should be at least half of your height. And if it is more, that's a bit of a red flag. And this matters a bit more than the scale because you can set it at a normal weight, even a normal BMI, and still carry fat around your middle and be insulin resistant. Researchers call this the like skinny fat pattern. I hate that term, but the waist to height ratio is a better predictor of insulin resistance than BMI. And this is going to be in centimeters. I want to make that clear. So my height is 172 centimeters. So meaning that my waist should stay under 86 centimeters. And right now my waist is about 70 centimeters. And I want to be clear as to why this is important. It's because belly fat, it doesn't just sit there. It's actually metabolically active and works against you. I've done a whole video on why visceral fat feeds that cycle and actually can create more insulin resistance. So you definitely want to be paying attention to belly fat more than the fat that you can pinch and jiggle and that you maybe want to get rid of around your thighs, because your thighs is actually a really safe, good place to store fat rather than underneath your abdomen and around your organs. Then symptom number four is the afternoon slump. It's the 3 p.m. crash where you want a coffee, you want a sweet treat, and a lie down. That's a blood sugar roller coaster. A carb heavy lunch is going to spike your blood sugar. Insulin's going to rush in to try and clear it. It's going to overshoot and then it's going to crash. And that crash is what is actually driving you down at 3 p.m. Women who get their insulin stable, often this is the first thing that they notice disappears. It's just flat, and you don't really have like that drowsy afternoon. I notice this a lot when I'm just in meetings and other people are really tired and complaining that they want to sleep, and I'm just fine. Then symptom number 5, very similar to the last one, but this is fuzzy thinking. So like you can't hold a thought, walking in the rooms and forgetting why. Same kind of roller coaster as that 3 p.m. crash where your brain is going to run kind of poorly on that constant spike and drop through the day where your insulin is going up and down. Steady fuel means a steady head, but because insulin is creating an energy crisis in your brain is going to use a massive amount of energy um, that your brain actually uses a massive amount of your body's energy, and when your cells resist insulin, the brain can struggle to pull the blood sugar or the glucose that it needs to think clearly and energize the brain, leading to things like mental fatigue, poor focus, and memory loss. And if this goes on for too long, it can lead to things like Alzheimer's or dementia. And Alzheimer's is now also referred to as type 3 diabetes. I have seen the dementia symptoms in my dad. So it causes him to do things like shower twice in the morning because he's forgotten he's already showered. By the time he goes to shave, he realizes, oh, hang on, I'm already shaved. Oh my God, that means I've had a shower twice. What the hell? And then he sort of realizes what he's done. So when I got my own insulin under control, the mental clarity really helped me a lot at work, to really focus a bit more on meetings, especially post 12 o'clock or post lunch. So symptom number 6 is going to be that you are hungry again just shortly after eating. So now we're just sort of moving into how these symptoms might make you feel in your body. So after you eat a proper meal and you're rummaging for a snack an hour later, you're never quite full. This is a hormonal signaling problem. It's not that you haven't eaten enough. So insulin is going to mess with your leptin, which is your fullness hormone. I talk more about leptin and other fat loss hormones in my free fat loss masterclass. I've got a link in the description if you want that. So leptin is the I'm satisfied message, and it can stop landing properly when it gets dysregulated. And it's also going to keep ghrelin, which is your hunger hormone, a lot noisier than it should be. So you can feel genuinely hungry, but it's actually just a signaling problem that's broken rather than actually being hungry. The fix is about building meals that actually turn those signals back on. So things like protein first, eating real fat and whole foods is going to help a lot. Then symptom 7 is intense sugar and carb cravings, especially after meals. Not the like, I fancy something nice, but this is like a genuine pull towards sugar that you can't fight your brain on. This is that ravenous sort of craving. Every blood sugar spike throughout your day is going to then crash again. If you have got problems with your insulin's going to overshoot and come back down a lot harder than it would have otherwise. And that low point is where you're going to get that craving. And it's going to be almost impossible to ignore. And evenings can be the worst because you're more insulin resistant later in the day than in like earlier in the day. So after dinner, that sweet treat is going to hit a lot harder than the same thing would have at lunch. And this one is also more of like a habit and a hormonal problem, sort of tangled all together. It's one of the things that I tend to unpack first with my clients. And symptom number 8 is going to be irregular or difficult cycles or like PCOS. So this is specific to females, but irregular periods and or painful ones or a PCOS diagnosis, up to about 70% of women with PCOS have insulin resistance underneath it. High insulin is going to push the ovaries to make more testosterone, which is a classic symptom of PCOS. This is actually why the name is shifting, and as of this year, 2026, you'll see PCOS being renamed to include the word metabolic. So it's now going to be PMOS, because for most women, the root was always metabolic. It's an insulin problem, not just an ovarian problem. So if this is you, then lowering insulin can really help a lot with your PMOS symptoms. And symptom number 9 is going to be stubborn belly fat that just will not move no matter how hard you try. So you've done the calorie deficit, the cardio, 1,200 calories sort of thing, even fasting, and your body is going to cling to the weight, especially around the middle, like life depends on it. Your body can't access stored fat while insulin is up. I want to make that so clear. So it's going to hold on and it's going to slow everything else down to protect you because you're eating less energy. So you eat less, your body burns less, you get more fatigued, you don't recover as well from the gym. all of that kind of stuff. Because your body is trying to match the lower level of food, what's happening here is that your body is trying to match the lower level of food or energy that you're putting into it because it simply can't tap into the other like stored energy that are left for a rainy day, which is your body fat. And this is a symptom that almost every single woman that I coach talks about. And it's the one that sort of flips the fastest once we actually lower the insulin instead of just cutting calories. Now, symptom number 10, this one is odd, and this is waking up at night to pee a lot more than normal. This one's more of a warning light. So, getting up in the night to go to the toilet or just going more often, noticing that maybe you're going a bit more often than you used to. Frequent urination is actually one of the classic type 2 diabetes symptoms. But what most people don't really connect is that it can creep up a lot earlier than that. And it often shows up first as just waking up at night to pee. So, what's happening is that when blood sugar climbs high enough, your kidneys start dumping the excess sugar out through your pee, and that sort of drags the water with it. So, you end up going to the toilet more often. This is one thing that is a bit different from the other 9. It's less of like a early whisper, it's more of like a warning light to say that things have already tipped, further towards pre-diabetes or type 2 diabetes. Is something you should really pay attention to. If this is you, that's your cue to really see a doctor sooner rather than later. And I don't just mean, you drink a lot of water before you go to bed, because I definitely get up to pee in the middle of the night, but that's because I chug water before I go to bed. So that's just a normal cycle. I mean, like, even with controlling your water intake and not glugging a whole bunch before you go to bed, you're still getting up multiple times to pee, and maybe not that much is even coming out. So I have watched this in the people that I love most. Like I said, my dad has got type 2 diabetes. My mum was pre diabetic. I've helped my mom turn hers around, and she's lost almost 20 kilos naturally. I'm so proud of her. No GLP drugs, no Ozempic, none of that. She's not perfect, but she still carries a bit of insulin resistance. But we are working on it, and she is well out of that prediabetes danger zone now. And I'm working with my dad as well on his fat loss right now too. He's lost a few kilos without counting calories, which is great. And finding the plan that I gave him pretty easy to stick to, and that's a big one for him. Then there's me. I used to have a whole cluster of these symptoms on the list, and I don't really anymore. And when I saw my metabolic doctor, she told me that the fact that I had those symptoms was a clear marker that I had carried some kind of insulin resistance in the past. Today, though, reviewing my data, she has classed me as being insulin sensitive. So when I say that this is reversible, I don't mean in theory. I mean, I've watched people that I know and myself reverse it. And I also will sometimes still wear something like a continuous glucose monitor, because I really believe that staying insulin sensitive is something that I will be spending the rest of my life regulating, especially since my doctor believes that I have got PMOS. And so I do need to be extremely aware of my insulin throughout my life. So, therefore, it's not a finish line, and I can't just go back to how I used to eat. I have completely changed my diet and my exercise routine around my body and what it needs. So, how do we fix it? And so, basically, in one sentence, we're going to try to bring your insulin down. And the way that we're going to do this is manage your carbs, don't fear fat, get your protein in, widen the gaps between your meals, and build a bit of muscle. I can't really hand you the exact plan through YouTube, but what I can give you is the protocol that I use with my clients to lose the excess fat without counting calories. You can find the method that I use below this video if that interests you. What I do with my one-on-one clients is that I use the protocol, but I build the personalized plan for their body, and then I work with them every single week and adjust it based on their personal circumstances. So, how many symptoms did you get? Let me know in the comments. I read every one. I promise you, you are not the only person scoring, maybe 6 or 7 of these. If there is one thing that I want you to remember, if you have got high insulin or you have been trying to lose weight with a calorie deficit, you've been trying to fix a hormone problem with a volume of food. And that was likely setting you up to fail from the beginning. So, one simple thing that I want you to try tomorrow, try swapping your high carb breakfast for a protein rich one. Think eggs, sausages, bacon. You can have like a hash brown on the side, instead of cereal, oats, or juice. It's a small change, but it can really help lower your insulin response in the morning and just set the tone for the rest of the day. And remember, I'm not a doctor. If these symptoms sound like you, speak to your GP, ask about a fasting insulin test. If you want to learn how to balance all of your hormones involved in fat loss, I've put together a free masterclass. The link is below, and I would love to see you there. And if you enjoyed this video and happen to have PMOS, then you'll enjoy this video that I did about how to finally lose body weight and start balancing your hormones. And I'll see you over there.